Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very senior, accomplished, and respected professional, a dear friend, someone I've known through the YPO for many years, from Israel, Dr. Amir Kfir. Amir, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Ashta. Very good to be here with you in this wonderful endeavor that you're pursuing in bringing education to the world. That's a great thing to do.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Dr. Amir Kfir is the owner and CEO of Amirror Group Organizational Development. He's an organizational consultant and management change leader. And as I just mentioned, he's been associated with the YPO for many years. I have personally worked with him several times in the YPO. So Amir, we're going to talk about forum today. And you are probably one of the most respected forum resources in YPO and outside as well. Let me start by asking you, what is a forum and how can it benefit an individual?
Wow. So the construct of a forum is a group of people, usually between 8 to 10 people, that meet on a regular basis, often once a month, but sometimes could have different formats of frequencies, like in a retreat format, that come together to both learn from each other, be able to get feedback from each other, create a setup that they can truly open and bring their vulnerability with each other, and ultimately not only grow intellectually and spiritually, but also grow in the tightness of the relationship that they build between each other, that they take care of each other. So it's very powerful for them to really emerge as a group of people that are very mindful, and in the mindfulness that they develop for each other and the commitment of one for all and all for one, they develop probably the strongest tie that we know of groups that exist out there. And all that happens under an umbrella of confidentiality, which means that nothing comes out of that room ever, never. And with that trust and with that commitment that they have, amazing conversations and amazing things happen to people.
Very well said and extremely well explained. But, so far we've been doing a lot of work on forums when it comes to professional relationships, but I know you've done a lot of work on family forums.
Yeah.
What are some of the unique features of a family forum, and how can a forum benefit a family?
So, if I said before that the essence of the relationship ultimately in a forum is a group of people that take care of each other, well, what is more of a group that takes care of each other than a family? Family is a construct that is built on a strong tie and a strong relationship of people who are very mindful of each other, always looking every day to see if everybody is happy. Are you good? Are you healthy? We call each other on the phone. We call our parents to check if everything is okay. Family is a unity that has a deep sense of alignment with everybody's well-being. And usually we would ask, are you healthy? Are you happy? Are you successful? And that happens in a regular peer group, but a family does this intuitively and naturally. The only thing is that in a family, we don't really have a structure for the conversation that is a predictable format that will deliver ultimately our ability to be there in support for each other. Because a forum has a certain protocol of communication. There's a certain flow for the meeting. There is a clear check-in. There is an icebreaker. There's finding out where everybody is. We don't do that in a family. We just sit together and we have a dinner and we enjoy each other's company, and we might hear a story from here and a story from there. And one child will speak more and another one will speak less. In a forum, there is a notion of equality. There is a structure that we have learned to build. And when deploying this structure, into the context of the family, something amazing happens because all of a sudden we hear things we've never heard before.
Mm-hmm.
We listen to see how similar we are and how different. We can ask a simple question like, a teacher that has been meaningful for you in life and why?
Mm-hmm.
And we see the beauty of the differences between us. So what makes us a family is not only that we are one united, is the place for individuality, that we see that we're like a hand with 5 fingers, and each finger is very different and has a unique aspect to it. And putting us together makes something very, very powerful, because what emerges is understanding of how do we also become conscious of each other's well-being way ahead. Because often in families, there's also secrets. Often in families, bad news travels slow. And the biggest fear that parents can have is that there's something happening and we are not aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
Something is going on in the life of one of the children and we don't know. We want to be able to listen. And so that format applied into a family makes it extremely powerful to learn how to converse and to learn how to solve problems and to learn how to listen to each other and to learn the joy of learning from our children who are smarter than us, who have a wisdom that we have not touched yet, because they live in the future and they give us a hint of what the future looks like in the present. And develop a sibling relationship, because the longest relationship in life is the relationship between the children. And if that is a healthy relationship, we're blessed. And if that is a bad relationship, we feel cursed.
Very well said.
And so our investment in those relationships and the buildup of that capability to converse and to be there for each other is a very top priority in life.
Very well said. But the other aspect of forum that I thought I'd wanted your perspective on, when you talk of a professional forum, you spoke about confidentiality, nothing, never, ever, when it comes to a family, there are age differences. There is the patriarch or the matriarch, and there is the youngest Gen Z or the Gen Alpha member of the family, where automatically there are levels of respect and hierarchical relationships. How does a family forum handle these differences?
Wonderful. Great question. Very important, because if you manage it correctly, it works. If you don't, it will fail. Thank you for this. First, the notion of confidentiality. We need to understand, for a peer group that comes together, it's ultimately quite intuitive when you say, hey, I can't have anything leave this room. And we understand that we become very vulnerable. And the level of the group actually is in line with the level of trust that we have with each other and our ability to be open, feel that it's safe, and become vulnerable. But the family needs that too, that trust that we have with each other. But a family is a complex system of multi-systems that have their own unique confidentiality. Mom and dad don't talk about everything with the kids. The kids, I know my children, Ronnie, who's 31, and Gail, who's 26, they don't talk to us about everything that they speak with each other. They're exploring life. They do certain things. They think we will be afraid if we heard about that, but they confine with each other. So there is a certain level of trust that we need to have. But that doesn't mean that there are no boundaries. I'll give you an example from my own life. My daughter told me something that had to do with her well-being, but also associated with a relationship with her mom. I met my wife after that conversation. And since my wife is my ally, my strategic partner in raising this family with whom we confine and we talk, privately. And of course, with all good intentions, we spoke about what the daughter said.
Right.
Then my wife and my daughter have a conversation, and my daughter finds out through the way that my wife is talking to her that I spoke to her and I told her things. She corners me later and nails me, my daughter, and says, I didn't tell you that so you will tell mom. If I want to tell something to mom, I'll say it myself. Right? I've now learned a very important lesson, that there are multiple confidential conversations that need to be defined under the umbrella. It's like you and I, you were not in a forum. But if I would meet with you, I would look at you in the eyes and I say, Ashdod, with confidentiality, and you will nod with your eyes, and then I will tell you everything
Yeah.
because I know that you and I understand the secret code. That same code can exist in the family where there are multiple kinds of relationship, right? Like, I don't want you to talk to the grandparents and say certain things about me. Now, every time they meet me, they have this worried expression on their face. Like, I want to have a clear slate. And so we need to learn how to manage that. And it happens. And the better we get at that, the more children feel trusted. I want to have a singular relationship with a parent. I don't have to always appear in the relationship with a parent as part of a system. I want to have a one-on-one kind of a thing. So that's one thing. The second question that you raised is on the hierarchy in a family and the structure that there's parents who have an authority and they tell you what to do and what not to do, and they finance you and they control certain aspects of your life by design. In this meeting, what we're teaching ourselves is to lay off rank, to remove, the rank, to remove the authority, and to look at each other as unique individuals that we engage with, that we are presently surprised to see who they are, and not tell them what to do. The same principle that is true for a forum in a relationship of peers, where we don't give advice, we don't tell each other what to do, we don't patronize you, we don't assume that we know better than you, we don't treat you like a beggar, as one of my friends, CFFs, told me, we treat you like a monk. We don't give you always something because we feel that you're weak and you're now in a moment that you need us to save you. We don't save each other. We reflect. We learn to speak from a different place. We share through experience. We share through conveying empathy. We share through asking intelligent, thought-provoking questions. We might give a certain feedback or offer support if wanted. But we do not sit in this place where we always have to hold the place of authority. Because the truth of the matter is, Khalil Gibran said, one day they are like an arrow shot from you and they will move into their future. They will have their own home, their own family. You're not going to be there. You're not going to govern it. So the sooner that you are able to relinquish, at least for this meeting, this notion that you need to control and have that power within every interaction, the sooner you will secure that you will have a seat around the table with your grandchildren, because it will already have an embedded culture of how can we speak without having somebody that will then say, here's what we're going to do. That we learn how to make decisions intelligently as equals, because these kids one day will sit on the board of directors of a family business. Do you know, I've learned this lately, and I hope this data is correct, that the world makes $90 trillion of GDP. Out of that, 60 trillion is made in family businesses.
Amazing.
Think about that number. It means that most of the world's wealth is made, and it doesn't have to be a public company that the family started, and generations later they have a minority holding in it, but it's still significant. But a lot of the world's wealth is made from this nucleus relationship of trust that is called a family. And in those later environments, hierarchy changes completely. We shift from owning a business, when managing it directly, to being sitting as owners on a board of directors. So learning how to manage those relationships without one authority in the room is very, very powerful teaching within the family. And when that happens, amazing conversations take place.
Very well said. Thank you. But the other aspect that what I'm hearing you say, Amir, is that there is a lot of mutuality in a family forum. The older generations will learn from the younger, and the younger will learn from the older. My question is, how can a family forum support one another and support a business?
It's very important, apropos what we just said about the critical, and I know that in India, a lot of businesses are family businesses. We develop a culture of trust. So we talk about things, we talk about challenges. we can talk about what's happening for me, right? The check-in process has 5 components. What is happening to me? What is happening for the family? What is happening with friends? What's happening in school or work, depending on where you are in life? What's happening with money? Money is a conversation that many families don't have with their kids until very late in life. And we understand that the sooner we learn to talk about money, to understand the notion of money, the better we learn how to handle it, because the cause of most of the breakdowns in families happens because of fights over money or power in one way or another. So learning to equalize these components early on is very critical for us in a family. And the better we become at it when we deal with small things with young kids, as they grow up, they will accustom to that notion that these are parts of the conversation. It won't be such a, traumatic experience to talk about the fact that I broke up with my boyfriend or girlfriend. And God forbid if somebody was abused in school, like you look at some things we just saw now in the news about a child in America that shot 22 people in school. Where did all this happen? Where did this misery happen that it was not noticed and not taken care of? Right. If the parents didn't have a regular conversation once a month, once every 2 weeks, where we heard each other and we learned how to take care of each other. In most cases, the family is the system that knows how to take care of each other better than anybody else. We delegate that to school teachers, but these people have their own life, their own children, and another 20 or 40 kids sitting in front of them. Where do they find the space to take care of these systems? I hope I've answered your question. I got excited in the track that I'm going, but I want to make sure.
No, you did answer.
Please bring me back on track.
No. I think you're giving me some great responses. The other question that I have seen, and when families are large, and in the Indian context, families could be large, there are what I would call undercurrents that exist within families. Yeah. And therefore, many forums may get formed within a family. How does one handle these small little groups that may, I don't have any data to establish to the contrary, but that may be dysfunctional in a larger family forum?
That's very important. Because in a regular forum, we say, look, guys, don't build subgroups. I've seen spousal forums that have 8 of them, and then 3 have a regular habit of meeting every Tuesday for tea somewhere. And they end up talking about other people from the group with good intentions, by the way, not negative, not gossiping negatively, but so a subgroup has been created. In a family that would happen quite often, that people would meet because they gather in different kind of setups. The learning that we need to develop is that we don't gossip, that we don't talk about each other. That sometimes people say, this guy, he's, or Mary, she's a wonderful girl. She's so beautiful and talented. But there's something about her ability to express herself. What I just said now is gossiping.
Yeah.
I should call Mary and I say, Mary, can I give you feedback one-on-one? Can I help you see that? And so we develop a culture that we learn how we take care of each other, how we protect. Gossiping could be a very destructive force. It feels like we're trying to be good, but actually the negative effect of it, that nobody feels that it's safe. So there's definitely a learning in this respect. The other learning is the conflict. Because in the complex family structures that you see, which I love in India, by the way, think about how fortunate you are. You live close by. Often you live in a compound. You get to see your grandchildren living next to you, connected with you, viewing who you are, learning, how crazy it is. I did an event for a YPO chapter in India. And they said, we have young kids. Can we bring our parents? I said, bring them along. And we had 30 families sitting in a huge hotel, and every family cuddling in their small huddle and having their conversations that we lead from stage. Here's phase 1, phase 2, and they just go through the process and they learn it. And the grandchildren said, sometimes I now understand better my parents when I see their grandparents, my grandparents talking. There's this power of this multi-generational learning that happens,
Yeah.
that we have respect, and that the grandparents finally have a seat around the table to hear their grandchildren, and they're not just babysitters. They're actually actively, deeply engaged. This is something that you build in your culture that is amazing, that many people around the world envy. In most places around the world, when the kids are 18 years old, they go to colleges, often away, and then they come for 3 holidays a year, in which most of the fights that they used to have in these holidays for the last 30 years reappear for some reason again and again. So the other thing that is important is the learning how to deal with conflict.
Right.
Forum is a system that has the capacity to process difficult conversations. And this is another thing that we need to learn. And of course, you know that I wrote with Steve Hecht a book called Nonflict, The Art of Everyday Peacemaking, that is dedicated to understand how can we, in a proactive and constructive way, shift conflicts from a conflict to a non-flict, by learning how to hear each other well, by learning how to process the conversation in a way that we fully understand what the underlying issue is and what works well and what's the worst, and then co-create what's the best case scenario. And when we do this, we get in some really meaningful, heart-opening, but intelligent conversations. In many cultures, I worked with somebody from Indonesia, and he says, Amir, why are you putting the conflict? In my country, we put it under the carpet. And over time, it kind of flows. Not everything needs to be talked about. Right? And that's true, by the way, that not everything needs to be talked about. But some things that have not been talked about for years continue to become such a negative, sucking energy disruption in the structure of a family. I met a guy not long ago in Israel. He says to me, I haven't talked to my parents and my siblings for 10 years. I said, what? 10 years. 10 years. These people one day will die.
Absolutely.
And you will end up talking to a rock in a graveyard.
Absolutely.
Now is the time.
Correct.
So we are really doing very important, and I know you've been my supporter in this for many, many years. We're doing very important work here.
Absolutely. So I have time for one more question, Amir, and this question is that, while in YPO forums, which are professional forums, there is a lot of confidentiality, there is a lot of support for one another. In a family forum, how does one family create a balance between professional development in the family business and personal growth of family members?
The beauty is that the structure of the forum allows to touch base on all aspects of life. As we know, in our YPO forums, we talk about personal, family, and business. And people can have an issue that they have on their personal front and an issue that they might have on their business front. The same thing happens in a forum in a family. So I might be talking about something that has to do with an issue that I have with one of my children that is not progressing correctly in life, and I feel stuck in that. And then you might help me, because you could hold that forum also with your sibling. In India, we do this. We have a forum where the brothers and the sisters sit together and they each have their own family.
Right.
But we understand that they are all raising a tribe together, because the families usually fall apart on the third and fourth generation. And so if we don't create that linkage early enough and know how to deal with either your personal things, if you have a dilemma with your family members, that saps your energy that when you come to work, your head is not there. I had a guy that has a child was born with autism, and the result is that he can't function. Not only that, but his marriage is falling apart. Now come and tell him to come and solve a business problem. So everything is interlinked, and everything is part of who we are and what our agenda is and how we learn to support each other. And that's very critical.
Very interesting.
But I need to tell you something very important. So please just bear with me because this is the most important thing that I need to deliver in our conversation. We have done this beautifully in the environment of an organization such as YPO or EO, where people knew this. So it was not too difficult for them to make the jump from one universe to another, like when I brought Forum in Business or Forum for Social Change, with the amazing things that are happening in India, that forums exist now across many populations. One of the examples in India is this movement that Apijit Pawar from Sakal Media built with Tanishka. But here's the important thing. We need to bring Forum to the world. We need to bring Forum and family to all the families in the world. When there will be Forum and families for the 22 million people that YBO manage, and for the millions and billions of people in the world will be a different place. Absolutely. Because if you think about that, most of the destruction in the world happened by individuals, very few, 10, 15% that created the total destruction of the world. Many of them were led by someone, an individual that brought to the world the death of tens and hundreds of millions of people. And these individuals, I don't need to name them because you can think who they were over the human history that you and I know, probably did not grow up in a loving, supporting family where everybody was holding each other and taking care of each other. And in their journey, dealing with their noise in their head and the traumas that they suffered, they became extremely dangerous people for the well-being of the world.
Well said.
Our ability to teach this process to the world, and this is where I need your help and all our viewers. If I will train you how to do it, and you will train two families, and these two families each will train two families, we will grow this movement that we need to take care of 2 millions. This is my dream. This is my passion. I even have a dream that I'm working in a big stadium in India. I don't know which city it will be. And in that large stadium, we have on the ground sitting hundreds of families, and we teach them the process. And we have some experienced people who move between the audience and help them because they know Forum well. And then they teach other friends and families in their neighborhood. And we make the world a much better place.
Absolutely. And on that note, since you just talked about your dream, the largest stadium in the world in Ahmedabad now takes 130,000 people. So please increase your dream from hundreds to 130,000. But Amir, I have attended a Forum training workshop with you many, many years ago. I have been a member of a Forum for 3 decades. I know it has been life-changing for me. The kind of security my Forum gives me has been absolutely incredible. I started a family forum with both my sons almost 10, 12 years ago. And I think they're both young men, 38 and 35. We talk to each other once in 45 days over the phone, on Zoom, etc. And now we're going to start adding in our spouses. I think my conversation with you today has been so amazing because you've given me a very, very new perspective on how we can bring in security, trust, communication within families, which is so critical for the health and success of a family. And you've also been speaking about forums in business. I also think time has come to be able to start considering how we can bring in our C-suite leaders into a forum situation as well. Thank you, Amir, for speaking to me about so many different.
I am doing this all over the world.
Okay.
The executive committee operates like a forum once a month. That creates an agile organization that learns how to solve problems organically through relationship rather than through the silo hierarchy structure. That's called N-1. N-2 is the head of sales doing it with their key people and head of supply chain. N-3 is one from accounting, one from housekeeping, one, similar hierarchy. And N-4, Ashutosh, is the CEO, 2 people from the next level, 2 people from the next, all the way down, shish kebabbing the organization, allowing a perspective of what's really happening in the system. There's so much happening. We have to talk more, my friend.
No, we'll talk again, and we'll schedule another conversation, maybe on forums in business then. Thank you, Amir, and you have
Ashutosh, You saved my life. Do you remember?
I do, but that is something which I would have done in any case.
My
And
dear
you're such a
friend,
good friend. You're such a good friend.
you are my forum buddy from a distance.
Absolutely.
And I really appreciate what you're doing and the opportunity that you're creating to make this world a better place. This
Thank
is
you so
where we
much.
are in life. That is our legacy.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, my friend, and you stay safe. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.